Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the show. It is Saturday, September 14th, and if we're lucky, we might be lucky. We might get lucky tonight. I don't mean lucky like that. So get your heads out of the gutter. We might get lucky, and Megan might forget that I'm doing this right now, and you might actually get to hear her singing because sometimes she just does that. So we'll see. And I got to apologize in advance if you hear any banging and clanging. She is also baking a cake, so you know, yeah. This is going to be a quick one. I just wanted to throw out there that I read and heard and went and did a little bit of research on today. Something that very interesting to me. We talk about, obviously a lot of the talk is on the last election and what a shit show it was and how all these things were going on with it. And, there's people, some people that I am very close to who believe that there were things that were done during the last election that you'll never be able to convince them that it was a legitimate election. There's truth to that. There is some truth to that. What I find interesting and what I read about today was about the Department of Veterans Affairs. The Department of Veterans Affairs has decided that it's a good idea, or it is a good idea, and they are in fact looking to do it right now in 3 states. They've already signed some sort of agreement to do it, to set up voter registration sites at VA facilities. Now, whether that means at the hospitals, at clinics, at whatever facility the VA has in that state or in that city. What I find interesting about it is that primarily, and I couldn't find anywhere that was not, but primarily where they're doing it is where the vote tally would be heavily Democrat. In other words, they're doing it in areas that are very blue to increase the number of registered Democrats, although they don't come out and say that, of course. They come out and say, oh, it's just a voter registration, but they're doing it in heavily Democrat populated areas in these 3 states. So I find that very interesting that a federal government entity, of course, the political appointee, the VA secretary, is an appointee from the current president. So, it makes sense that they would be trying to get their candidate to win the next election so that they still have a job after. But doesn't this border on election interference? And here's why I say that. The VA secretary was in front of Congress, and he was asked about this by a congressman from Wisconsin, former Navy SEAL. I can't remember his name. But he pointed out that, these places that the VA is talking about doing it are in all these heavily blue, heavily Democrat places. And he said, I'll tell you what. He said, we'll stop talking about this. We won't have another conversation about this. And right now I'm extending to you an invitation to set up one of these sites in the VA medical facility in his district in Wisconsin. Hasn't happened. So what does that mean? Does that mean that what does that tell you, I guess is a better way to say it? Does that tell you that they're purposely just doing it in certain places to, expand? One of them is Pennsylvania. Everyone's talking about how Pennsylvania is a toss-up state right now. So why would you focus on Pennsylvania to be one of these states? Let's see. Where were the other states? Michigan, again, another state that they say is very close. So why would they be focusing on Pennsylvania and Michigan, 2 states that are up for contention? Now, the third one is Kentucky, but the place that they're talking about in Kentucky is a very blue area in Kentucky of increasing the votership, or increasing the voter rolls in that area. which would be heavily Democrat, most likely. So it just doesn't make sense for any other reason other than they're purposely trying to tip the scales in strategic places to increase voting. I don't know. I just find it bizarre. And like I was going to say, you know, is the federal government, are federal government agencies injecting themselves into an election? Of course, they're passing it off as, oh, well, we just want to make it easier for veterans to vote. Then why aren't they in every single one? Why aren't they in every single VA? Why aren't they available in every VA facility across the country? Why select, you know, basically battleground states or areas within a state that, you know, could very well switch that state in their favor? Is it election interference when a federal government agency tries to get involved in another, you know, in an election? I mean, again, like I said, they're talking about it as if it's a very general thing. Of course, anybody can come enroll, but we're only doing it in places where we know the enrollment is going to be one party over the other. So I just found it really interesting that that was what was going on, and wanted to just bring that to everyone's attention so that, you know, you guys can go look for it yourself and keep your eyes peeled. Be looking out for things like this, because these are the types of things. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if HHS didn't get involved and start putting voter registration capability in their HHS departments. Department of Education, you know, are they going to start allowing voter registration in public school facilities? Where does it end? If one agency is allowed to do it unchecked, why, you know, what's to stop any other agency from doing it unchecked? Now, they've been called out for it publicly, like I said, by Congress now. So we'll see how far implementation goes, or if they do decide that it might be a good idea, just for, even if it's just for optical purposes, where they expand it to other places. But as it stands right now, it's only in very blue cities and counties in these states, in these battleground states, Michigan and Pennsylvania specifically. So I don't know. I just wanted to do a quick PSA about this, public service announcement, and put that out there to keep your eyes open and see if there's anybody sees that these things are popping up in any other places. These are the three they've admitted to. So like I said, this kind of stuff changes from week to week because they start, you know, just kind of doing it. And now that it's been called out, they think that, you know, it'll just go away and nobody's going to say anything else about it. But it's up to us as the public to, you know, pay attention to this kind of stuff. And we have, I think, pretty sure we have less than 50 days until the election. Pretty damn close to 50 days, if it's not less. So, you know, they didn't get the bump that they thought they were going to get for Harris coming out of the DNC. They didn't get the bump coming out of this debate that they thought that they were going to get, especially now that pretty much it's been exposed how biased and bad ABC was by doing it. Yeah. So I think, yeah, look at it this way. The polls have it right now as a dead heat. So what does that mean? Keep in mind, we've talked about polls before. Keep in mind that polls are always heavily, almost 2-to-1 Democrats or Republican. So the polls when Trump ran against Clinton had Clinton up by 16 points all the way to the day of the election, and she lost. The polls had Biden up by 8 points going into the election. He won by like 43,000 total votes across 3 states. Total votes. So you're talking, you know, 12,000 votes a state, really, is what it boiled down to. This one has them dead even. What does that tell you? It means it's probably really not even that close. If they have them dead even, that means Trump is probably in the lead, which is why they're most likely trying to do these types of things to increase voter registration. Now, I'm not sure if early voting has started in any state yet. I know we're kind of on the cusp of that. I think the 18th is when the first state starts their early voting. I don't know. Megan's sitting over here shaking her head. So what's the answer?
Wasn't North Carolina supposed to start, but then they were trying to keep RFK one, and that's why there's a lawsuit?
Yeah, but that's not going to stop early voting.
But they were September, early September.
Yeah, but I don't think they've started. I think the 18th is the first day of actual early voting, and I don't remember what state it's in, but so anyway, just a PSA, a quick public service announcement to watch out for these types of things, and to just for visibility that these are the types of things that the other federal government agencies, i.e., political appointees from this president, are. You know, they always talk about a threat to democracy. Well, what is more of a threat to democracy than federal government agencies getting involved in things that they have no reason to be involved in? What role does the VA play in making sure that people are registered to vote? They don't at all. They can barely do their job within the scope of their job as it is, but they have enough time, money, and manpower to start something like this that has absolutely nothing to do with what their mandate is as far as their role and their job. So I just wanted to put that out there. I hope that you guys are paying attention to this stuff, and we'll probably be back on Tuesday. Yeah. Hope y'all have a great rest of your weekend. And I want everyone to send emails saying happy birthday to Megan because it's her birthday tomorrow. So we'll talk to y'all then.